Hi there, my name is Bryony Rose Smith, and today I'd like to read you the prologue and first chapter of The Carnelian Fox by Kay MacLeod. Let's begin. Many years ago, and we've changed the name of the light types to Candy instead. They're pink now. Whatever for? That forced Maya to look up from her notes and break her husband's continuous babble. For the toys. We need a pink one, and since the light ones made rainbows anyway. So you've reduced my majestic golden light types to a merchandising ploy. She pushed her glasses up her nose before they fell off from enraged nostril flares. How much do you think this will cost, honey? We're talking scientific pioneering, coupled with implementing a game designed to run itself over the entire globe. Everyone will want to play Mayamon. Those old enough will buy a gem. But kids copying their elder siblings will have to make do with dolls. And if we don't give those precious little princesses a shiny pink unicorn, someone else will. This is your vision, but let me make it a viable business. I suppose I can fathom the appeal. What's left? We're up to speed, I believe. Good luck. Jonathan leant in and kissed her cheek, then pulled back the curtain draped over the doorway. Maya stepped out onto the stage, and the 500-strong crowd erupted. The circles of scientists and gamers were easy to tell apart by their apparel and the odd cosplay of her most prominent characters. To please both, she wore an open lab coat slung over a t-shirt with a logo of Echo 9, her company's latest console, emblazoned on her chest. Doubtful she'd use them, Maya dropped the pile of rumpled notes onto the podium, then worked the microphone from its stand and moved to the edge of the platform. She couldn't hold back the smirk lighting her lips as the crowd yelled and let out a thunder of applause. Thank you all for coming to Magicor's seasonal announcements. The volume of the mic dipped as the people settled down to listen. Harry was on the ball on the sound desk. As promised, tonight will be even more incredible than usual. Every time tickets for a seasonal show go live, I see fans commenting. They never know if we'll be focusing on scientific breakthroughs or our gaming range. Well, lucky people. Tonight, you have both. As murmurs filled the air, Maya drew out a tiny object resting at the bottom of the inside pocket in her lab coat. Hush descended as she held it aloft. 3 of our most successful game series feature various forms of monster-catching mechanics. In fact, the only genre that makes more credits per year are first-person shooters. So, are you ready for a new kind of evolution? Welcome to Mayamon, ladies and gentlemen. Monster catching just got real. With a squeeze of the red capsule between her fingers, she unleashed years of work. Thank goodness there were no malfunctions this time. She'd expected applause or yelled questions, but there was only a collective inhale. Kneeling, Maya lifted the cat with her microphone-free arm and wedged it against her hip. As she stood, the crowd came back to life. The pair of photographers with permission to document this event must have filled a stack of memory cards by now. As you can see, flames cover the entirety of Chica's fur, like a monster from one of our games, but we can guarantee he's safe to handle. He's what we call a gem, a genetically engineered monster. You will play Mayamon in the real world with real creatures. Every kind of animal comes in every typing, with more customization options in form of upgrade slots and aesthetic kits. Get your pre-orders in at our special discount rate. These babies are going live in 3 months. Questions? Monsters don't exist. At least, they didn't until we created them. After dozens of hit monster collecting games raked in billions of credits per year, it was inevitable that someone would create real ones, would take what our world provided us with and twist their genetics to make them faster, stronger, cuter, and to build in the need to battle and grow. Monsters exist now. Like all fads, people grew bored and abandoned their gems, genetically enhanced monsters for the latest fashion. But Magcore designed the creatures to fight and breed. They terrorize humans and animals alike. New generations not bound to the command of a primary user, outcompeting everything natural. They made the world their own. The only way to survive is with gems we control. Monsters don't exist. They thrive. Chapter 1. All passes. Even maths? Callum raised a sceptical eyebrow. I may have barely scraped through, but yeah, it's a pass. And yeah, I'm gobsmacked too. I ran my eyes over the scorecard again, convinced there must be a blemish on there that would sink any chance of following my dreams. Aren't you going to ask about mine? Callum handed me an envelope that looked as if he had used one of those little daggers to open it. A stark contrast to my own ragged-edged result. We know you're top percentile golden boy, don't rub it in. I peeked in to confirm the perfect lists of firsts, and then shoved it back at him. Seriously though, well done. Know what this means? We can pick up Charlotte now. Mate, you're generally calling a fire-breathing dragon Charlotte. She's a dragon, but she's still a lady. More so than you, at least. I ignored the slight. We dashed off, leaving Aurora College behind for the last time. Today, we registered as primary users, the only two from this year's class that planned on battling gems. You should have let me reserve a fox for you, Callum said as we neared our destination. You should know by now that if I'm doing this, I'm doing it myself. Connections are a tool, Sam. It doesn't make you any less of a prime to use them. I'm letting you get me in early, aren't I? Just not begging for money is all. I'm sure you'll get me back when you're head grandmaster. Hey, those winnings are mine. This way I get to keep it all. As we approached the gem holding centre on the outskirts of the grounds, Callum brought up a holographic screen on his E-band, flicking through to his pre-booking. Moments like this made me wonder why he even bothered with me. Stood there, all charming, with his high-end band. Mine was an ancient touchscreen model, passed down when my mum was allocated a new one from work. He oozed wealth and charisma, short blonde hair perfectly framing his thoroughbred features, and his well-cut travelling gear was clearly tailor-made compared to the 2 short sleeves I fiddled with. I'd be convinced he only hung out with me because there were no other battle primes in the class, if he weren't so genuinely down to earth. A steward guarded the entrance. A blank gaze pasted over his face as he waved us through with the sparsest glance. I swallowed my elation, trying to still the buzzing in my limbs. Dim light radiated from a touchscreen console on one corner of the room, the only light source in the room. It was barren in here now, but soon it would be crammed with other enthusiastic young primes. There really were advantages to having connections. The swift click of heels announced her arrival, just before a woman flicked a switch behind the counter that ran the length of the room, leaving me blinking in the harsh neon glow of the room coming to life. You're early. Special delivery, huh? The elder lady appraised us over chunky specs and leaned across the desk to examine each word on Callum's receipt. I'm here for a female Draco cub. Callum gushed every word. I chose to keep my cool and wait my turn with respect and grace, The woman rechecked his hologram, then disappeared into the back. She returned several minutes later with a small red capsule. Flame Draco. So cliché. I whispered as I nudged Callum in the ribs. All his attention was on the woman and scanning the capsule to transfer ownership to him. We naturally get a lot of plant and air gems in the area. Flame makes sense. And Draco are cool. Powerful. Callum's impeccable manners disguised his competitive nature well, but battles were not about smiles and pleasantries. Go look, Sam. I know it's killing you. I didn't need any more coercing. My fingers flew to the search bar on the corner console. Forget the type selection. I wanted a fox. And the good breeders of Vastisa had come through. I had a choice of 3. I slipped the corner of my grey card under the scanner on the bottom of the screen, followed by my decrepit E-band. Within seconds, a capsule dropped from the port next to the scanner. In absolute wonder, I reached for the device. This would culminate years of my mum saving, and me throwing whatever chips I could earn from odd jobs. My own battle gem. Flame? That's so cliché. He could tell by the colour of the capsule. Kinda ruining the big moment here, Callum. You got one? I squeezed the capsule between my forefinger and thumb, feeling a pulse in response, then blinked back tears as I saw him for the first time. He wasn't the same as a normal fox, of course. The designers of this game had made gems larger than life, brighter and more beautiful than any of what nature itself could ever produce. Gems were made to be merchandisable. My fox was slim-pawed, with a delicate muzzle, and eyes too large for his head. His fur shifted between autumn red through sunset orange to hazard yellow, glinting and changing as the cub shook out its coat. He looked into my eyes and blinked an intelligent greeting, so I grabbed him up into my arms and pressed my face into his smolder-smell fur. He emanated a constant heat as he snuggled down into the embrace. What are you calling him? Finn, I decided on the spot. Want to go outside and battle? Callum's eyes lit up as he gestured to his own new teammate. Sure, I'd seen Draco cubs before, just not in real life. Apparently they were obscenely large for a first-age gem. Most cubs could nestle in their prime's arms, but Charlotte was knee-high as she scrambled forward on all fours. If you included her muscular tail, she was at least 4 times as long as Finn. We got this. I bluffed. No way I'd back out of my first battle. Finn sat up, with bright and inquisitive eyes, calculating the measure of his opponent. Outside! The woman behind the counter echoed, shooing us away while she fixated on her own screen. Finn trotted out, his smart little steps sprightly and carefree. Trainers worked these purpose-bred first gems to be battle-ready, confident and obedient. A fenced-off concrete area the size of a football field sat next door, a structure with express purposes of battle-testing new gems. I slid Finn's capsule into a wristlet on the opposite arm to my E-band as I stepped over the threshold. Charlotte bounded into the center, her talons scraping the floor with continuous clicks. You had to admire the girl's red-gold iridescent scales, and the way her sinuous tail followed her body. Ready? Callum called from where he assumed his position on the edge of the circle etched into the ground. Okay, Finn, I whispered to my gem. You are way more maneuverable than that hulking thing, so keep your distance. She's got bulk, but just keep hitting her with long-range attacks while you avoid her, right? The little fox yipped. His sparkling eyes proved he'd taken every word on board. And trusted me. Damn, I hoped it wasn't misplaced. Fresh from the centre like this, the Draco had the advantage. They were built to be defensive gems, and even though they didn't have the speed or power of a fox, they were strong enough to take down such a delicate gem with a few good strikes. Finn didn't seem to care. Just faced her down like he was the one with the advantage. Would have been a lot easier if Callum had gone with a plant type. "Let's see your flame breath, Charlotte," Callum called. I still thought it was a stupid name for a dragon, but that boy looked like a professional prime already. The Draco took a breath. "Keep moving, Finn," I said, voice steady. A sheen of flame poured out of Charlotte's maw, following my fox as he dashed around to flank her. It wasn't too much to worry about, just a widespread, weak attack that my gem resisted naturally anyway. "Magma spits, aim for her wings," I directed. Those puny things wouldn't allow her to fly until she reached her final form, and all they were right now was an unarmoured target. Finn hacked up a ball of lava and let it fly, still circling like a shark. Charlotte ducked and twisted, but the fiery ball struck her hindquarters. First hit to Finn. "Close in!" Callum yelled. "More spits! Keep dodging her!" Finn tore around the edge of the arena, hammering the Draco with lava. She avoided some and knocked one away with her tail, but rocked with the impact of others. But Charlotte kept up her own stream of attacks. Her flame breath caught Finn's tail a couple of times when he was trying to split focus between attack and defense. "Get out of there!" I felt my voice creep higher as Callum's gem rushed across the battlefield. In a blink, I realized my mistake. Foxes were glass cannons, made to hit first and hard, not to weather attacks and play a long game. Charlotte kept up her charge and clamped her fangs around the tip of his brush. "No, I should have directed him to take a clear headshot when she ran in." "Swipe him," Callum said. Calmer now, it looked as though he had this in the bag. We weren't done yet. "Lava spit! Direct attack!" I blurted, but it was too late. Finn hacked. Charlotte caught him with a mighty uppercut, rocking the little fox's head back and collapsing him into a heap of ruffled fur. "Okay, you win," I said, dashing over to pick up my poor cub and stroke his muzzle. "You did so good, Finn. That was my mistake. I promise I'll do better next time." He nuzzled the back of my hand with a damp nose, as trusting and loving as before, except more bleary-eyed. I tapped his capsule. I didn't want to see him go, but he needed to rest and heal up. "I knew you'd win, Callum," a high-pitched voice squealed from the entrance. "Yeah, thanks for leaving us the good gem, Sam," another tittered. A gaggle of future show primes that shared most of our class had watched the whole thing. It was mortifying. They already thought Callum was way too good to waste his time with me. "I think you chose well," he said, ignoring the audience. "He's got great spirit. When he gets stronger, he'll be unstoppable." "Oh, she's already a beast," I gestured towards the Draco as he recalled her. "Should we find some poor suckers for double battles? I have a great pair in mind already." "Leave them be. You know they aren't in the same league." He nodded at the group of girls and grinned. "Besides, they aren't even letting them in yet. We could be waiting a while." "Listen to them. You'd think they were topping the leagues already." "Half will drop out before they're even qualified." "Only half?" He clearly had more faith in them than I did. "Regina will do well. Naomi too." "You're just saying that because they lead your fan club," I scoffed, heading out of the arena. "I thought supporting my family was your job." I rolled my eyes in response. For some reason, he thought it was hilarious to bring up that I'd had a crush on his dad for pretty much all of my formative years. I'll leave the support to that lot, I replied. You're going to need someone to buy all your merch when you get famous. You aren't allowed to swap your gem once you've taken one, Naomi said as I walked past, letting another girl in front of her so she could try wind me up. They only have 2 candy types, Nay, I said. You'll be disappointed if you end up with a corrosive just because you wasted time being a smug cow. Her heavily plucked eyebrows almost flew off her stupid forehead, and she pushed through the primes in front of her to be first to the door. Really? As if Callum needed to ask that question. Nah, they're swimming in the bloody things. They know they have to cater for all these show primes. You didn't consider one? Hey, I'm not one to put a well-shaped candy type down. I pointed at him with my best lecturer impression. They're incredible against shadow and psychic types. Not many things are. They don't look the part if you want to be a credible battle prime. I mean, you can get away with the glittery cutesy thing. Because I'm a girl. Because you're a girl, he agreed, patting me on the head. He could be an irritating git sometimes. See, females have an unfair advantage in battle. I decided not to have this conversation. How about one about leaving town? Oh yes, I bounced on the spot. Everything was suddenly overwhelming, in a good way. I've genuinely dreamed about this so many times. More times than you've dreamed about my dad. I'd say about on par. I winked at him. I'd creep him out if he pushed me to that. Truthfully, this was the biggest moment of my life. Even bigger than realizing my best friend was the son of Sebastian Capshaw, one of the greatest battle primes in the world and my childhood hero. Now I was starting my adventure. I called Callum my best friend, but he didn't have much competition. I'd spent way too much of my school life actually studying to waste time talking to people. It took me everything I had to get the meager grades I'd managed to get by with to get into college. And if I had spare time, I spent it working to pay tuition fees. At least the government would pay for me now. Well, I'd get nominal upkeep and free lodging anyway. As long as I kept an eye out for aggressive, unbonded gems and responded to any emergency reports in my area. It was kind of the loosest possible description of a job. But after this, once I'd hacked away at this low-level work for a while and proved myself by collecting challenge points, the world would open up for me. I could be anything. Work with earth gems in construction. Travel the world with my team as SOS response. Track and remove high-level threats. Yeah, I could do that. But I set my sights higher. I wanted to battle in arenas. Proper ones. Not circles in the dirt while a few bullies made snide comments. I wanted to take on the best of the best in the entire region. No, the world. I wanted the title of Grandmaster. And the money and fame that came with it. Once I got that, my mum would never have to work a 12-hour shift again, and my sister could have her own gem too, whichever she wanted. And there'd still be plenty left over for scholarships for kids even poorer than me that wanted to train up. Daydreaming about world domination again? Callum prodded me back to reality. It is inevitable. Do I get to be your head lackey during this reign of terror? Depends. I want to keep my options open. I grinned, wondering why I always pretended to be better than him when he was the one with the perfect grades and access to better gear. Then I'll have to work hard to impress you. We bantered back and forth until we got back to the town square, where we split apart. I was heading to the downtown apartments, and Callum across the parks to his parents' sprawling residence. I still felt a bit awkward going there, even though everyone was super welcoming. More for who lived there than the vast, beautiful building and expensive furniture. I always thought about the years of watching Sebastian on TV, cheering him on and vowing I'd be doing the same one day. It's properly embarrassing to talk to someone you had posters on your wall of as a kid. I say as a kid, but the last two came down the day I realised who Callum was and how much he'd tease me if he saw them. Meet at the gates in an hour, I suggested. If my mum's done hugging me by then. Bring me a snake home. Zoe wagged her finger in my face as I tried to hug her goodbye. A corrosive one. A really big one. You wanted an electric buffalo last week. And a flame hippo the week before that. And a giant earth moth the week before that. I was getting exacerbated. But I just saw Randy Miller in the quarterfinals and his corrosive snake was insane! You can't just go with whatever other people are using, Zoe. You need your own thing. You said you'd bring me whatever I wanted. She batted her eyelashes. But I wasn't falling for this 11-year-old's charm. Ha! She was growing up and getting less cute every day. Yeah, but if I travel all the way to Arliss Mountains to find you a corrosive, and you've decided you want a bloody water gem by the time I get back, I'm going to be annoyed. Just get loads and I'll pick when I graduate. Zoe seemed to think this was a perfectly reasonable request. I've only got my team of 6 and enough storage for a secondary team. I can't afford to keep more. Not until I start winning prize money. I'll get you something good, Zoe. I promise. Promise me you'll stay safe, Mum added. You stick with Callum, or you find someone else to travel with if you decide to go separate ways. We're taking the same route, Mum. We'll be fine. Plans change, honey. Make sure you always have a backup one. I really wish I'd listened to her. The end. Or at least to be continued. That was the prologue and first chapter of The Carnelian Fox by Kay MacLeod. There are currently 2 books out in the Maya Mon series so far, this and The Amethyst Panda. Both of them, if you are someone who prefers to listen to books, are available on Audible, read by someone generally better at reading things than I am. Much more professional. I hope you enjoyed this nonetheless. Please check out these books, they are wonderful. If you need a teaser for anything coming up in it, then when I got my other half to read some, once they'd finished the second chapter, they came down and all their words were as, "Why didn't you warn me?" So, have fun with that. I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.